What will video games look like 10 years from now? That's a scary thought, my dude.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Shan Caravan.
I'm seeing a lot of troubling things within the gaming sphere or community over the last couple of years, and it only seems to be getting worse. And it has me fearful for the future of gaming. And I think this is a conversation that needs to be had within the community so that we can hopefully prevent these things from happening. We might see change, you know what I mean? Pricing is becoming a problem within the gaming community. We've got certain games that are upwards $80, $90, which is mind-boggling at this point. And I get inflation's a thing. I get that things are going to get more expensive over time, right? But there just seems to be such an unequal scale as far as pricing, where, not gonna name names, but Nintendo has definitely been spearheading this idea that I am going to base my game off of what I want to base it off of. Not because of what it's worth. This idea of I'm going to base the price higher and higher and higher every time until people stop buying it. As long as there is someone willing to pay the price, it's worth it. We see that in fashion. Okay? You can buy a purse that's $500,000 and you can buy a purse that's 99 cents. Yeah, you might have better quality here, but what about the $50 purse? I can't say that they got that different quality. It's usually the brand name that people are willing to pay the higher price point for than the lower price point. But the item you got wasn't worth it. There's not that big a difference. And we're starting to see that in the gaming community as well, where Nintendo and certain gaming companies, these AAA gaming companies are our games are going to be $60, $70, $80, $90. Whereas you've got indie developers who are my game is free. My game's $5. My game's $10. And when you compare the two, they're not that dissimilar, right? There's been a lot of conversation about the Switch 2 and how expensive the console is, how expensive the games are, how expensive the accessories are for the console, how expensive the upgrade packs that you have to get to backwards compatible play games. It's getting a little out of hand. And it's that age old, as long as someone's willing to pay for it, I'm going to keep ranking up the price because I want more money. That greed is about to consume us all. Right now, there's still a lot of people buying the Switch 2. There's still a lot of people supporting this because it hasn't gotten out of grasp yet, right? It priced out a lot of people, but it didn't price out everyone. You know what I mean? And I think if we continue this path where the next console is, $1,000-something bucks, then we're going to start seeing people lying and saying, I'm not buying that. I cannot afford to spend this much on a gaming console. As much as I love gaming, I don't have that kind of money to buy that. You know what I mean? So that is a little fearful. And I kind of like that there's been a little bit of pushback from indie developers like Silksong, Hollow Knight. They just released their sequel, which was $20, and this game broke the internet, basically. It broke pretty much every platform that you could purchase a game on, like Steam and Nintendo and all of them. People want games. They don't want to be robbed, basically. And Nintendo's also setting a precedent with all these lawsuits they're trying to come out with and patents they're trying to come out with to make sure no one else can do what they do. And then monopolize on the fact that only they can do it and keep cranking up that price. So I feel like we need to stop supporting companies like this. And it's not to say don't play Nintendo, don't buy Nintendo, but put your money in other places as well. Buy more indie games. Really, it was really good to see how many people supported Silksong because it goes to show Nintendo and companies like that hey, you could probably make more sales and in turn more money if you lowered your prices. Like, it ain't like we're getting super awesome quality. Like I was saying with the fashion analogy, like, yes, Bonanza was a good game. Sure, Mario Kart was a good game. But was it that much better than like a $30, $40 game? Was it really that much better? Was it really that much better than the last Mario Kart is another question. So maybe let's not hike up prices for the sake of hiking up prices. Let's actually add some quality, some meat to that dish if you're going to charge me more for it. The other thing we're starting to see within the gaming community is lots of layoffs, lots of studios just closing because they either can't keep up with the prices of everything nowadays or paying staff, or their games that they're putting out aren't getting the support that they need, or just, once again, greed. I'm sure everyone who's got a job is familiar with management coming down and being like, hey, we're going to increase your workload, but we're going to keep your pay the same. Or we're not going to add in new employees. We're just going to give you more work to do. And it's like, how am I supposed to keep up with more work and I still don't get more pay? And I think this is something that we're probably seeing within the gaming community as well. It's been no secret over the years that gaming companies are guilty of pushing their employees too far. Whether it's unrealistic release dates where they're trying to pump out a game by a certain date, but they need, the people that make the game are like, hey, we can't do that. We need more time if you want this game to be good. And they're like, nah, sorry, I can't do that. We got to get it out by this time because money. I think a great example of that is Sonic. And a lot of the more recent Sonic games that came out, like Boom and Sonic 06, where the game was bare bones. The game was not as great as it should have been, right? But it was due to them pushing release dates, pushing their employees. I mean, you could have brought on more staff. You could have paid people overtime. You could have done these things to help get you to that release date. But they're like, no, I ain't paying more to make it. I just need you to work harder. And so it's a bit scary to see where that's going to put us in the future if we're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. But it also has made way for something kind of unexpected, like when we think of Expedition 33 and like these smaller studios that are coming out from ex-employees of the bigger name studios, where they're like, hey, I couldn't do that anymore, or I got laid off, and now we've come together and made our own company. And I think it's allowed for a lot of creative freedom, a lot of let's take our time. I mean, shoot, Hollow Knight, there was a big gap between the first and the second game, but people still came back because they knew that the quality was going to be there, instead of let's have the sequel out next year and it's going to be bare bones and then we're going to have DLC you have to pay for. It also is kind of like a one-up to these bigger companies when you see these really small studios or even one-man groups that are creating really awesome games. Silksong is, I believe, a 3-man group, which is wild, and the game is good. Another one in more of the horror genre, even within the indie community, right? We've got FNAF, who kind of went off the rails with Secret of the Mimic. They came out with Security Breach, right? Which was their first, like, you can free roam and explore, and it was graphically good. It was a great game. I mean, yes, it had its bugs and its flaws, and it wasn't perfect, but it warranted its price tag, right? And it came out on all the different systems and things of that nature, right? I believe it was like $40-$50, something like that. So then the next game they came out with was Into the Pit, which wasn't like Unreal Engine. It was like a pixel horror, and it was also shorter. Like, Security Breach was like a 30-hour game. Like, you could pump some hours into that game. Whereas Into the Pit was like 4 to 5 hours. So the price was less. It was like $20, which is like, okay, cool, whatever. And then they came out with Secret of the Mimic, and they're like, yeah, it's going to be similar to Security Breach, where it's in that same style. And yeah, it looks good, but it's got its own set of bugs and issues. It's not nearly as long of a game as Security Breach is, even if you include the hours of you just sitting in lockers for most of the gameplay. And it's somehow a $40 game, and it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You can't be pricing this the same as Security Breach, and it's not the same length of game, you know what I mean? And to compare that, right, to, I forget the name of the creator who made it, but Indigo Park, like a one-man team, right, who is making his own mascot horror. It's full of lore, it looks good, it plays good. The first chapter was free. He's working on the second one. I don't know how much it's going to cost, but it just goes to show that, like, you don't have to charge that much for a good game. Like, I can't say that Indigo Park is that much different than Poppy or that much different than FNAF, and yet it ain't priced the same, you know? So it is good to see that smaller companies are producing really good games, and that we need to support them more than we're supporting these bigger corporations that are robbing us, essentially. And that even if their game is free or cheap, if they have a way where you can donate to them, or you can pay more for the game, so to speak, like I think on like Itch and stuff like that, where you can name your price for the game, pay the people. Like, if you want to see more content from them, if you want to see faster content from them, paying them would probably help. If you're willing to spend $80, $90 for a Nintendo game, and their game is only $5, you could throw an extra 10 their way. You could throw an extra 20 their way, really. Anywho, to help support them so that we have more people choosing that path, instead of people saying like, oh, I can't wait to work for Nintendo one day, or oh, I can't wait to work for Sony one day, or I can't wait to work for, you know, this Ubisoft one day, that they would be like, you know what? I'm going to start my own gaming company. Or, hey, there's a small scale gaming company in my city. I need to go apply there. We have to support that if that's what we want. My last point is I'm concerned about the lack of variety when it comes to gaming. It seems like we've hit this, I don't know if it's a social media issue, but I see it in multiple places where someone does something that's really good, and then they will just copy that formula, like copy and paste it over and over and over and over again. And then other people see that doing really good. So then they'll copy and paste that same formula over and over and over again. And we just see a lot of the same. We don't see any innovation. We don't see anything new. We don't see anything different. Like, I recently just was playing Star Fox Adventures. I love Star Fox Adventures. If you don't know, it's a GameCube game that was basically Zelda, but not Zelda, right? It had dungeons, you upgraded your weapons. It was basically Zelda, but not Zelda, not Hyrule. And I really loved that. And I would love more of it. Like, not necessarily Star Fox in general, but just another Zelda-esque game that's not Hyrule. And honestly, I don't care if Nintendo makes it or another company makes it. I just want adventure, but not Zelda. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Zelda, my Triforce cat ears, but it would be nice if I didn't always have to play as Link. It would be nice if I wasn't always saving Zelda. It'd be nice if not every enemy was a moblin. It would be nice if it wasn't always Ganon. You know, we could have a different enemy, a different hero, a different storyline, a different map. But it would be nice to see something different, anything different. Like, how many other Zelda-like adventure games can you name that aren't Zelda? I'll wait. And I know we've got a plethora of like RPGs, right? Where it's like turn-based and whatnot. And like you see variety within those. But for some reason, like adventure, you don't see variety. And even with Nintendo, they're going to keep making Zelda games until they eventually, if they ever do close their doors. They're going to keep making Mario games forever. They're going to keep making Sonic games forever. But what's next? Like, is it just Zelda, Mario, and Sonic? And we get someone new, something different, another option? You know, y'all have all this money that you're making. Put it towards something new. Make a new team that works on a different game. I think as a consumer, we need to be open to that. Like, when a studio steps out on a limb and they're like, hey, here's something new, let's not immediately be like, where my Zelda at? Where my Mario at? Like, no, give the game a chance. Because that's why a lot of companies won't try anything new. It's because they're like, well, this works, and I don't know how y'all are going to react to something new. So I want to see some variety. And even in the horror genre, we're starting to see where everything that comes out is a mascot horror. And I love mascot horror, but I want something else. It doesn't always have to be in a classroom. It doesn't always have to be mascot horror. It doesn't always have to be, I don't know. I just want variety. I don't want to play the same game over and over and over and over again, you know? So with all of these things combined, it's like, where is the gaming industry going? Is it going down a good path, or is it going down a bad path where we're just going to be paying a lot of money for the exact same styled game over and over and over? And like, to some people, they might be like, that's fine, I don't really care. But to others, we're like, it gets old, you know? And I'm not even talking like the Call of Duties and the Battlefields and the Fortnites and the Apexes, because that is its own genre. But it would be nice to have something different, you know? So where do you see the gaming industry going, and what are your concerns, or what do you think is positive that's been coming out of the gaming industry lately? I will leave you guys off on that. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.